Good morning. Welcome to another Zoom podcast from the Oklahoma Public School Resource Center, where we endeavor to talk about important things related to the pandemic and how we can help schools, and we also try and make it at least a little bit fun and interesting. Today, Jason Midkiff is in the middle of a Jedi fight for those watching online. Jean's in a pastoral landscape, and
Jean is doing a better job of social distancing in her photos.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think that you have 6 feet from Darth Vader or Obi-Wan. So Bigfoot might be sneaking up on me behind me. So I've got to learn to do something on the background. So in case you're wondering, we're using Zoom, and you can do that. You can change your virtual background. So these are very important things during this very important time. So we do have a serious topic today. We're going to talk about distance learning. So let me set the stage, because that's about all I'm capable of doing, and then I'll get out of the way. We've got the experts here. The State Department yesterday, the State Board of Education approved a plan to close school buildings for the rest of the year, but not to close school. And they directed each school to have a distance learning plan. They also announced they passed a bunch of waivers for school requirements to avoid any sort of legal issues during this period. They also announced that they're going to be putting out a guidance document tomorrow. So we're all sort of anxiously awaiting that. That'll be, today, for those that are not listening, today is Thursday, March 20. This is the 26th. And so on Friday, the 27th, the State Department will be putting out their framework for schools with a bunch of guidance. So we hope that will be a useful tool. And then what we're going to be doing at the Resource Center, we're going to be going over our guidance, which we hope will be complementary to what the State Department's putting out. We're also just going to try and highlight sort of what are other schools doing, right? Let's just learn from each other. We don't have to reinvent the wheel on all of this stuff. So we've got a bunch of podcasts scheduled. We've got 2 for tomorrow to talk about some different efforts that are ongoing. We'll continue seeking out, how are schools creatively trying to tackle this problem. So keep on checking back. We'll be posting this on social media. We'll be putting it up into our School Zone podcast, trying to get information out in any way possible. And for those listeners that are doing creative, innovative things and want to shine a spotlight on it, please reach out to us. We like to sort of serve as sort of how can we shower that information out to schools statewide. So that is setting the stage. And Jean, why don't you jump in? You look like you got something to say.
Always, don't I always have something to say?
Yes.
So I don't know about you guys, and I don't know about the people watching, but ever since this all came out, all of the COVID-19s came out, my inbox has been flooded. And at first it was really cool, and I was trying to keep track of everything, but I quickly became crazily overwhelmed. And I'm not the only one. Got a call from my daughter during a webinar the other day, and her teachers, their first morning of in-home instruction, teachers had sent home what they thought would be a simple idea for the kids to do. They needed to find 3 ideas that they would like to tell a story about. Isaac found 1 character and spent the rest of the morning doing a very detailed drawing of that character. Anna had a complete meltdown. She couldn't do this. This was impossible. She didn't understand any of this. And these are kids who tell stories to each other and to us constantly. And I think Anna's story finally came up with something on, a butterfly, a bunny, and poop. And that's as far as I got into the story. I'm curious to see where it went from there. But bottom line is, we don't want to overwhelm our parents, and we don't want to overwhelm teachers, because everybody's in the same boat right now.
Yeah. And I think, we're going to issue our guidance document that we worked on. And I think that's one of the things, just a theme on, and especially starting out, putting it together. I would really tell people, start easy, start light. This is new for everybody in every situation. It's new for teachers. They don't need to feel like they've got to have 6 weeks worth of stuff ready to go the first day. For kids, it's a different environment from them. They're used to having those set routines that teachers do a wonderful job of putting in place. And parents, not all of them are used to being teachers. I've got a teaching background, but I've been out of the classroom for a little bit now, and I've I've had to readjust my wheels just a little bit with my kids and go back to, okay, I've got to set those routines and those parameters for my kids. So please, I think one of the main things that I would emphasize today, and I think we emphasize in our document well, is take it slow, take it easy. Don't be in 10 different learning management systems, 5 different ways to communicate. Just early on, the main thing is make communication with everybody and then go from there.
And I totally agree. I had 4 things as I've been thinking about that, 4 ideas to really focus on. Keep it simple. As Midkiff said, make sure that you're just trying to use one avenue of getting instruction out to your students. If you're already used to Google's Classroom, then for Pete's sake, don't change right now. This is not the time. If you're not, if your students are not, then give them some time and give plenty of instruction on how to use something new.
Yep.
Chunk things and switch it up. You're all, teachers know this already, but kids have a short attention span. Adults have a short attention span, so keep things about 10 minutes long and then switch it up with something else. And an hour-long class may not need to be an hour-long class anymore. So we kind of realize that. Maintaining connections is one of the biggest ones. Brent, you talked about schools who are doing things. I know how public schools, their staff is reading books online to their students so that students can still see their teachers are there and the world is still going on. Right. More teachers yesterday got out and drove the neighborhood. They maintained social distancing. They stayed in their own car, which I thought was important. But they were out and those kids were so excited to see their teachers. And finally, just take a deep breath. This was on a webinar I saw the other day. Take a deep breath and know you don't have to be perfect. Think about how it's going to work. I've been on webinars with professionals this week and things have gone wrong. And it's nice to know that other people do that too. One of the acronyms that I'm trying to adopt in my life right now is that FAIL is also an acronym for the first attempt in learning. So realize that you may fail the first time, just monitor and adjust. We're used to doing that as teachers.
Cool. You can do it for 4th attempt and 5th attempt as well. So 15th attempt. No, I think that's one of the phrases I've been trying to use, not just around providing guidance to schools, but even just myself, right? Like we're all working from home and I am not wired to work from home, right? I am a social being. I could show you 3 paint chips over here that I've had really, really good conversations with in the last few days. You can't let great be the enemy of good, right? Like, we're trying, I know a lot, especially, there's a lot of teachers, high performers that are used to being, that maestro in the classroom, right? Especially folks who've been doing this a while, they've got it down. And this is a whole new ballgame, right? So what you're comfortable with, what you're good at may not translate, and that's okay, right? It's okay to have to learn a new skill. I think we're all, the humans are all struggling right now, and I think we've got that shared experience that we can. I think most people will be understanding. So we've got our distance learning guidance within the show notes. So if you're seeing this on Facebook, we'll have it in the comments. We'll have the link. We'll also, on our webpage, opsrc.net, we've got a COVID-19 resource page. We'll have it linked there. We'll share it out on Twitter, or I don't even know, the Instagram, the gram, I think the kids are calling. Is that what they call it, Gene? I think you're
I have no clue. I don't do Instagram.
Oh, come on now.
Oh, Gene.
Now I get on there and all I know is I feel really old on Instagram. So
if you feel old,
but it does not compute for me. But folks like it. So we'll share it out as many places as possible. But does it help to maybe kind of go through there? And Gene, did you want to do like a screen share where you could kind of walk through some of that stuff?
Now let me screen share just for a second and show you a little bit about what's there. I'm going to move back. So this is what the cover page looks like, just so you kind of know. I want to give you an idea. This is a screenshot of the table of contents, so you can see that we've got some ideas for a delivery plan and how to deliver, and there's also some support tutorials. We have in there a contact list for all of our contacts, either by phone, checking in with we have Zoom office hours. We're going to try to do that daily.
Yeah, Gene, I would like to highlight that just a little bit. One, for those that are doing something really interesting, we're going to set up the Zoom office every day from 12 to 1. Anybody can come in during that time. Our team will be there. So if there's somebody that has questions, whether it's financial, legal, distance learning questions, if it's just support,
anything like
yeah, educational technology tools, our staff will be on there. But at the same time, as other educators come on, will also be a place to live share things that they're doing, things that are working. This is set up with this link every day during that 1 hour lunchtime time period. And so we really want to encourage people to come on during that time, share great ideas, learn. If you have questions of us, we'll be there as a team for anybody. And so just kind of want to highlight that, and we'll be sharing that out more as well.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. It's fun for us because we can see each other. We're a pretty social group with the resource.
Yeah, it's, and I mean, I've seen it a lot on social media, people talking about, teachers, how much they just miss their kids. I mean, as much as sometimes you can be in the classroom and they can frustrate you and drive you nuts, they're still your kids, and they always are. Facebook, Instagram, see kids that, I taught 20 years ago, and they're still my kids. I taught them. And so I know that's difficult for teachers right now. This is a way for our office. This is what we do to kind of see each other and connect. And, I live in a cubicle community when I'm at work, and I miss my cubicle community and all the fun that we have and goofing around and all those things. And so this is the time to come together and have that time to connect, and teachers to come in and share. And, you can't go up to your buildings, to do stuff. And I mean, this is just a great avenue and an example of ways to connect with people.
Indeed. Keep on walking through, Gene.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. I didn't go through a whole lot. There's so many. It's how many pages, Midkiff? About 10 or 12 pages?
Yeah, I think it's an 11-page document counting the resources.
Okay.
11 pages, and that's a Google Doc. So as we find additional resources, or as we come up with better ideas, that'll be a living document. So that link will always be up to date.
Yeah, and so it does have links. So if you need federal guidance on special education, we talked about the state framework when it comes up. The state just COVID their resources. The state's is on there. And so we have those at the front. We have our OPSRC resources, state COVID resources, federal guidance. All those are hyperlinked in there for those.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that, a couple things I also want to highlight. One, I think, we're still relatively new. I mean, I think most people knew we were going to distance learning, at least starting on Monday, because that's when State Superintendent Hoffmeister said that was her plan. But it wasn't officially approved until yesterday. And I think it's fair to say most educators right now are probably drinking from the fire hose. So we want to be there. We don't want to force anything on anybody, but we do want to be a resource where, reach out to us, leverage us. I know the whole team right now just wants to do whatever we can to help. So, use us as a resource of, hey, I can't figure this out, or I need some help in this area. I can assure you will be provided with really good customer service. And I don't care if you're a member or not. We want you to be a member of the Resource Center, but right now, we're all in this together. So if you're teaching Oklahoma's kids, just give us a call and or reach out, join our office hours, do whatever you need to do to connect, and we'd be glad to help provide that service. Gene, do you want to go through? You were telling you've been on a whole bunch of webinars, and I'm sorry, I did not tout. So Jean is our ed tech specialist. She's one of those quiet people, in the office that doesn't talk a lot. She is not like me, so I don't know that everyone really fully understands the awesome power of Jean Potter, because she's our resource for all of this stuff, and her ability to digest information well, quite frankly, it terrifies me. So I think it's phenomenal. And so Gene, you've been going through all of these resources that are out there. You've been watching webinars, you've been talking to folks. Do you want to share a couple stories, both good and bad, of things that you've seen out there?
Sure. Number one, there's just so much out there. I've been on a webinar almost daily with a lady named Catherine McKnight, and she started this up last week, just trying to get teachers back together. She's had various experts come in, and she's the one I referenced a little bit ago, to take a deep breath because some things don't work well the first time. She uses GoToMeeting instead of Zoom, and it was just not working. But one of her guests is also somebody we'd had at OPSRC not too long ago, a gentleman named Alex Kajitani, who is again an expert, more or less, at doing this kind of thing. He's a professional. He not only teaches, but he also does professional speaking. And he's doing a really cool thing, I think every Tuesday at noon, 11 o'clock maybe, but you can look it up and we'll have those links available for you. But Alex was on, and I caught his the other day. He was using Zoom and he's teaching what he calls a wacky math hour. So was not designed to talk to teachers, but designed to talk to students, and he had students from all over the country. Unfortunately, he hadn't practiced with students using Zoom and had allowed students to annotate and to share screen, and allowed participants to. Well, that works great most of the time with adults. With kids, you know how they do. They want to test the limits. And so he had kids writing all over his screen and hijacking his screen. So anytime we're going to do things, we're going to fail and learn from our failures and learn from our mistakes, but just go in and practice. So that's one of my highlights, is to practice just a bit before you go on to make sure that you know how to do things, like putting the cool screen behind you. One of the teachers, again from Catherine McKnight's thing, I think his name was Dan Argenter, that's how he's taking roll. He's putting a different picture behind his image every day, and they're doing a "Where in the world is Mr. Argenter" that day. And so the kids will respond. He does that at the very beginning. So again, it's like anytime we're doing class instruction, we try to do something to get the kids' attention, and that's the way he's getting it. So he's going to be traveling all over the world doing that. I thought that was a cool idea, and a lot better than just having kids say, "I'm here," and checking off a box.
And just to clarify, folks aren't familiar using Zoom. Number one, get on there. Like we've as a team, we've historically used Google Hangouts because we use Google Calendar, and it's nice. It's real easy. We've moved over more to Zoom now. We find the audio and video quality to be better, though we're still using both tools. And we can help with any tool. So if you're using GoToMeeting, if you're using Skype, if you're using I think WebEx is another one. We can help you work through. If you ask us for a recommendation, I think we're probably going to recommend Zoom just because we've had really good luck with it. But right now, Jean can share the screen. I'm the host of this meeting. I'm allowing her, but I would give Jean a lot more freedom than I would give kids if they were unfortunate to have to learn from me right now. And so those are settings. And just to be honest, like yesterday during office hours, someone had to teach me how to do that because I wanted to make sure that Jean would be able to do this presentation during the.
I do want to add about Zoom. When you go on, it's free, and there's a basic. Zoom has the basic does a 40-minute class. Zoom has allowed for free, if you do basic, to waive that 40-minute window and for you to extend. So just like a lot of other companies, Zoom has done some things free to try to help out the K-12 space. And so someone from the district, if there's a district page, may need to go in and do that. And then
and if you can't Zoom's got this, but it doesn't work on older computers, which we've had a couple of my team members complain about. If it doesn't work, there's nothing to stop you from showing a picture too. So you don't have to have all of the bells and whistles to do this. Yep. Also, just as an FYI, Google Hangouts has the ability to close caption. So that may make it a better choice for you. There's a workaround with Zoom, but Google Hangouts will do the closed captioning automatically if you set it that. So that may make a difference with some of your students.
Yeah, that could be really helpful. Well, so we've been talking a lot about technology, but distance learning isn't just technology, right?
Correct.
Okay, so talk about that. So, especially a lot of our schools are in rural Oklahoma. How would you suggest a school that says, look, my kids just don't have enough connectivity? Would you try and tackle the connectivity issue or the device issue, or what are other options?
Who's
Midkiff,
first?
you want to jump in first, and then I'll piggyback.
Okay. Yeah, in our guidance document, we address this a little bit, some of those equity issues. We know, we have a lot of rural members. A lot of us have worked in rural schools, that the connectivity is an issue. One of the first things that I would suggest people do is any company that they know that offers internet in their area, I would just call and see if they're doing something free for kids right now in the K-12 space, because it's possible that they might do that for a time.
Yep.
But then as districts, as you go, I think it's going to be really important. I know the state has put out a survey to the districts to try to get that information. I know teachers have generally tried to find some way to communicate with parents, and I think it's important that they find out, reach out, and gather information on what each kid has. And for those that just don't have any type of connectivity, mobile phone or Wi-Fi at their house, can't get a hotspot, things like that, then you might have to do a weekly or 3 or 4 day packet. Those can be emailed. They can be just put in regular snail mail, as we call it nowadays. And if your school is doing a breakfast or lunch pickup, a grab and go, those can be a part of that as well. And those are just a few ideas for those that aren't connected. We know that there's going to be some really great other ways that districts tackle this issue, and we look forward to hearing some of those. But those are some different ways to address those that just don't have any connectivity whatsoever. In our guidance document, we've tried to make sure that everything that we have on it as a suggestion can be done from a mobile phone or Wi-Fi. And so you're going to have some that may not have a computer at home, but they have a phone. And so again, in your lessons, doing a 2 hours of work on a computer on a phone obviously will take longer, although those kids can type pretty fast on that phone, so it might not take them as long. But so you got to think about some of those things. But we try to make sure everything can be done from a smartphone or Wi-Fi. But if just don't have anything whatsoever, you may still have to just figure out a way to either email, pick up, or do packets and work that way.
I also think too, thinking about that, if people have limited Wi-Fi access, that's another reason to minimize your direct instruction, make that short and succinct, and connect with the kids that way. And then they can do their work written, they can read, they can do journaling. One of the districts that I was listening to, one of their journal assignments is a daily thing, just reporting on COVID itself, because this is historic. These are historic times, and kids are living through this. So get their viewpoint of what's going on.
Yeah.
Another thing, as you're doing this, one of the big things I think is to check in with parents too. As teachers, parents are going to be so overwhelmed right now. If you're assigning things that are taking a packet and it's a full week packet, well, we talked before this started, sometimes that's overwhelming for kids and for parents. So make sure parents realize this is not something you do. You're going to do it in steps. It doesn't have to all be done today. So realize as you're doing that, communicate with parents and see how they're doing too, because they're stuck at home, and that's not always the place you want to be when you're trying to homeschool your kids. There's a reason why I did not homeschool my kids.
Yeah.
Well, a reason why my mom didn't homeschool me, for sure.
I like to joke and say, there's no doubt I love my kids. Some days not so much. So, and I recognized early on that there are a lot better educators for my kids than moi. So, but we're gonna struggle through this together right now. I do one more time just to say, look, like we know folks are unsure what they're doing. We'd like to be here to help as much as possible. If you're just trying to talk things through, feel free to reach out to us. You don't have to do that publicly in our office hours, though we do like that office hours because it gives the chance for people to learn from each other. But you can also just reach out to us, and we can do a regular old-fashioned phone call, or we can set up another type of meeting to work through with you.
And Brent, we can expand those office hours if that doesn't work for people at noon to 1. If there's a better time to do that, I'm sure several of us are willing to jump on at different times. So
yeah, I mean, we just chose a time. We're kind of just throwing spaghetti at the wall right now on sticks. So if there's a better way to do this, we're open to that. So.
And Brent, just as we close, I think just 2 things for me. One, remember the things that you already have in place. So if you have some software things, that kids work through, an IXL, a Study Island, Reading Eggs, Math Seeds, just remember that those things are in place for those kids. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to come up with all new things, those things like that teachers already see and can monitor. And then the last thing I would say is to make sure you're checking in on each other. Your colleagues and your other staff. I saw a deal from a guy another superintendent I'd met in Illinois, and he said, he wants to connect with 3 people a day and encourage them to connect with 3 people a day. So that they're reaching out, because it's different being in isolation, social distancing, whatever we want to call it. And so making those connections each day. And so with our colleagues and friends, besides just our students, I would encourage people to do that as well.
Yeah, we're as a staff doing a Friday virtual happy hour. We're just going to have that scheduled, and a lot of our staff doesn't drink. You sit in front of your computer. We don't care if you drink, and just get on and talk. That's the whole point here. Is that we need to find ways to interact with each other. Says the guilty as charged power extrovert. So, all right. Any final words for folks?
other than just breathe and take it easy.
Yeah.
Go to work.
I want to say thank you. We know the educators have been dealt, an unfair ask, but thank you for putting in the time. We know this is a critical time. We know everyone's struggling right now, and our kids need you. So thank you for stepping up.
Well, if there's ever a group of people that can overcome it, it'll be Oklahoma teachers. So
indeed. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.